Hello, everybody. Welcome to our presentation. We are Daniel, Agustina, and Monica, and we're going to analyze the lyrics of the song Where's Love through the modernist approach. Our presentation will be divided into 5 different parts. The first one is a brief outline of the song. The second one is the difference between modernism and modernity. The third is the features of the modernism, the characteristics of the modernist approach. Number 4 is the analysis of the song considering these features. And number 5, including the bibliography we used for our presentation, for our analysis in this presentation. So first of all, as we said before, we're going to analyze the lyrics of the song Where's Love by the Black Eyed Peas, feature the word. This song addresses some important themes such as violence, terrorism, sexism, gangs, racism, hate, and anger. Also, it includes the lack of values in society, like fairness, equality, understanding, and unity. The song was first released in 2003, 2 years after the fall of the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center. Later on, in 2016, the group decided to release a remake of the song, including contemporary world issues, such as the war in Syria, the migrant crisis, and the Black Lives Matter protests across the US.
Well, we have here 2 words. Are these words synonymous? Modernity and modernism. Well, they aren't. Modernity refers an age of history of humanity. Well, the modernity started in the 15th century and ended approximately at the end of 18th century, and great events happened in this era. For instance, the conquest of American by European, the development of the print, the Protestant reform, the scientific revolution. Another important event was, for instance, that the reason was over the religion. So before the modernity, all the things were explained by the religion. In this era, the modernity, the things were explained by the science. We can find great thinkers in this era, for instance, Descartes, for instance, George Hughes. So they put the reason over the religion. And another important event was the Industrial Revolution. In the Industrial Revolution, the society changed. They became, of course, an industrial society where the capitalism was success. In reference with the modernism, it was a movement, it was a culture, artistic and literature movement. It started in the late 19th century and ended in the middle of the 20th century. It is approximately. Well, the society underwent deep changes, and another thing is that it is characterized by break with traditional ways of writing.
Some features of this movement are individualism, multiple perspective, free will, and literary devices. We will analyze this song through these features. First of all, I will start with the literary devices. Many modernists use literary devices to create a stronger connection between the text and the readers. One or two of the most important devices are imagery and symbolism. On the one hand, imagery refers to the use of figurative and descriptive language to create an image in the minds of the readers. This device appeals to the senses and to the imagination. Here, through this line, we have a clear example of imagery. Through this line, the author describes an event using fully descriptive and vivid language. So, he describes and creates an image of a man being attacked and being chopped to death by another person, holding his hands in the air like trying to stop the other person. And it also appeals to the sense of hearing of the listener because the author expresses that the man says that he can't breathe. So, by merging our previous knowledge with this image created by the auditory and the visual imagery, we can relate this with a previous event, that is the assassination of George Floyd in hands of the police of Minnesota. This is a particular event that we can find during this song. On the other hand, we have symbolism. Symbolism refers to the use of symbols to represent ideas and qualities. This device appeals to the emotion and to the intellect of the readers or listeners in this case. This device attributes meaning to an object, which generally differs from the original meaning of the object. So it creates a hidden or a secondary meaning. Here we have an example. Through this line, we can find a clear symbolism, that is the bacteria and the way that this bacteria is spread, the infection. So the author is comparing the negative images which kids are exposed to with a bacteria, because these negative images are being spread, are getting into their head, and they are imitating these negative images of violence, terrorism, and so on. So this is a clear symbolism here, that we have the bacteria compared to the negative images of the word.
Another important feature of modernism is individualism. Modernist literature focuses on the individual rather than on society as a whole. The concept of individualism is addressed by the author. This term has a negative connotation because it is not related to possessing an individual characteristic or individual freedom, but it is related to the self-interest of an egocentric person. The author refers to the individualism the whole world is immersed in. These lines, the author wants to express how self-centered people are, lack of respect among them, spirit of rejection to each other, and the only interest in money. In addition, the author says that we are not different. We all are the same, even in the smallest aspect. He says, we was all born with a heart. Purpose of the author is to encourage the audience to fight for what is right and to end all forms of discrimination in this individualistic society.
Well, multiple perspective. Well, many modern writers use to first-person perspective to emphasize the character subjectivity and to add profundity to the story that the writer told. Well, the author says in the song that he sees people crying, people suffering, a society that doesn't care about the other, the other. So, in this part, I will introduce Bauman Sot. He says about the society that that the society is facing the dissolution of the sense of the social belonging, and this brings an enormous individualism. So in this way, the author tried to show this kind of the society, a society with individualism.
Another characteristic of the modernism is free verse. Free verse is an open form of poetry that does not use a consistent meter, rhythm, or musical pattern, but it is not considered to be completely free. This free verse contains some elements of forms which may vary freely. In the song, we can see that there is some use of meter and rhyme, but it is not consistent in the whole song. For example, in these lines, we can see that the first four verses use a rhyme in the pairs dying and crying and or preach and cheat in consecutive lines. Also a similarity in the length in these four verses. On the other hand, the following lines do not have a similar length, and the rhyme do not occur in consecutive lines. Only in the words above, above and love, in the last and the third last lines. Moreover, some parts of the song are intended to be improvised. Thus, we can connect this hip-hop music with the aforementioned free verse in poetry, because both of them do not have consistent patterns.
So, as we have stated before, this song calls society to reflect on what is happening in this world. Therefore, it is a claim against violence, terrorism, racism, hypocrisy, intolerance, and so on. So, analyzing this song from this movement, from the modernist approach, we can deeply understand the nature of society and the nature of the world issues, such as terrorism and violence. We analyze this song through the features of modernism, such as first-person perspective, in which the author of this song involves the audience in order to reflect about or reflect against the violence. The literary devices, which are hinted at larger scales, such as themes, meanings, and ideas. And finally, we have the individualism. So individualism is one of the most remarkable features of modernism that appears during this song. So that we can figure out the lack of values of an individualistic society that is still asking where's the love. So in this slide, you can find all the material that we have done, we have used to make this presentation. That's all. Hope you like it, and thanks for your attention.